So, time. Before clocks were invented, people used this thing called the sun. If you looked out into the land and the sun was over here, it was morning. Here, day, and here, night. One day, this guy in Egypt was all like, "Nuh-uh, I see you up there every day, passing like you don't care. Do you know how much it hurts to look up at you just to check what time it is? You ain't no weeble wobble, you ain't no weeble wobble. See this cactus? I'ma use this guy's shadow instead. At least it does the same thing of going back and forth based on where you go. You know what? I'ma make some money off of you. I'm gonna make this device called a sundial." And so, the people liked the invention and he got rich. But King Amenophis I was all like, "How are we supposed to tell what time it is when it's night, huh?" So he summoned Prince Amenemhet and told him to make a better clock. Prince Amenemhet calms the king down and is like, "I got this." And so he makes a device where he puts water in a bucket with a hole in the bottom, and he marks off how much water is left in the bucket after a certain amount of time while the water drains, and uses that as a clock. The people of Egypt look at this and say what? Now how are we supposed to get water? We're in the desert. Do you see any water around here? I know I don't. And so, an anonymous guy steps up and says, "I got this, guys, don't worry," and creates a clock off of the resource that they cannot really run out of: sand. He creates the hourglass, and the people say, "Genius!" Meanwhile in Italy, a man named Galileo is sitting in church bored. He's thinking, does this guy ever stop talking? So he starts watching the chandelier and realizes that no matter how short or long the arc of the chandelier was, it took exactly the same amount of time to complete a full swing. Based on this idea, Galileo made the pendulum clock. From there, clocks are trying to be improved greatly, such as the cuckoo clock, and clocks that chime on every hour. Meanwhile, in Europe, there was a board of longitude contest. A person was to create a clock which could provide longitude to within half a degree, which is like 2 minutes of time. The reward was $20,000, which was maybe equivalent to $200,000 back then. John Harrison here was a very talented guy. He decided to step up and take the challenge. He created the H1 clock, which worked with moving parts that are controlled and counterbalanced by springs so that, unlike a pendulum clock, H1 is independent of the direction of gravity. He decided it wasn't good enough though after testing it, so he asked for financial assistance from the Board of Longitude to make a second one called H2. But the design was wrong, so he made H3. But that didn't work either, so he created a whole nother design and called it H4. H4 was the winner. But the Board of Longitude said, "Nope, you get half prize money and give all your clocks to us." Well, John Harrison was not about to go with that plan, but it seems as if that it was the only way of getting the prize money, so he made a letter to King George III and asked for assistance. King George III said, "These people have been cruelly wronged, and by God, Harrison, I will see you righted." And so the Board of Longitude was taken to court, challenged by the king himself. And the king won by a long shot, of course, and so John Harrison got his money and, more importantly, was recognized as having solved the longitude problem. By the time this all happened though, John Harrison was around 82 and died a year later. The improvements of time go along by stories like these. So far, the most accurate clock in the world is the atomic clock. Atomic clocks are used to measure how long it takes an atom of cesium 133 to vibrate. Oh gosh, big number. So 9,192,000. Wait, no. 9,192,601,770 times.